welcome to the debate. Conference play is really starting to heat up, and tonight the entire college basketball world has its eyes fixed on Durham, North Carolina. We have an absolutely heavyweight ACC clash at Cameron Indoor Stadium as the 5th-ranked Duke Blue Devils host the 23rd-ranked Louisville Cardinals.
Yeah, this is, without question, the marquee matchup of the night, and honestly, maybe the game of the month in the ACC. You've got a Duke team sitting at 18-1, riding a 7-game winning streak. They look absolutely imperious at home. And then on the other side, you have Louisville at 14-5, a program really trying to prove that this rabid resurgence under Pat Kelsey isn't just a nice story, you know. They want to show they're a legitimate threat.
The stakes are just incredibly high tonight. For Duke, it's about maintaining that #1 seed projection, continuing their stranglehold on the conference. For Louisville, though, it's a chance to avenge their January 6th loss, which we'll definitely get into, and to get that signature win that says we are truly back. But I think the central question we're wrestling with tonight is this: can Louisville's high-volume, high-variance perimeter offense actually overcome Duke's just overwhelming statistical balance and interior power to pull off the upset? I'm arguing that yes, there is a very specific statistical path for the Cardinals to do it.
And I'm taking the position that the path you're seeing, while it looks possible on a whiteboard, is pretty much blocked by the cold, hard reality of Duke's efficiency. I'm looking at the data, specifically the KenPom metrics on both ends of the floor, and I find it very, very hard to see a scenario where Louisville survives the pressure cooker that is Cameron Indoor. The gap in just pure consistency is too wide.
I see why you think that. I do, especially just looking at the raw win-loss columns. But let's get right into it. I want to lay out exactly why I believe Louisville is live in this spot. And it's not just based on hope. It starts with this concept we call math ball. But I want to be specific about what that actually means in this matchup. Pat Kelsey has this team operating as the #1 scoring offense in the ACC, putting up, 87.8 points per game? That's 19th nationally. But the raw point total isn't the insight. The insight is how they get those points.
You're talking about the extreme three-point reliance.
Well, reliance sounds a little negative, like it's a crutch. I'd call it optimization. They rank first in the ACC in three-pointers made, averaging almost 12 a game, and they're attempting nearly 34 shots from deep every single night. Look, when you're the underdog on the road against a top-5 team, you can't play a standard game. You cannot trade 2s for 2s with a team that has superior size. You need variance. You need the high ceiling that comes with the three-point shot. If Louisville hits their average or goes slightly above it, say 14 or 15 made threes, that creates a math problem that Duke struggles to solve with 2-point baskets, no matter how efficient they are inside. And we saw a glimpse of this in the first matchup on January 6th. Despite losing 84-73, Louisville actually led that game by 12 points in the first half. They proved they can score on this defense.
But that first half feels like absolute fool's gold to me. You mentioned math ball, but let's talk about the other side of that coin, total basketball. Duke isn't just some standard opponent you can outshoot in a track meet. We are talking about one of only 2 teams in the entire nation ranked in the top 5 in both offensive and defensive efficiency on KenPom. And for our listeners who don't live in the spreadsheets, that means even when you adjust for the strength of their opponents, Duke is elite at scoring and they are elite at stopping you. Their adjusted offensive efficiency is 126.5, that's points per 100 possessions, and their defensive efficiency is 92.8. I mean, that level of balance usually signals a national championship contender, not just a team that wins home games.
Right. No one's disputing Duke is elite. That's why they're ranked 5th in the country. My argument is about matchup volatility.
But that balance is what minimizes the impact of that variance. You're banking on Louisville getting hot. I'm banking on the fact that Duke dominates the high percentage areas of the game night in and night out. And furthermore, let's talk about the venue. Duke has won 26 consecutive home games. They've won 29 of their last 30 conference games. Teams come into Cameron Indoor, and the pressure just cracks them. And then you have the Cameron Boozer factor. The man is the nation's leading scorer at 23.7 points per game. He has had consecutive 30-point games coming into tonight. In that first matchup where you mentioned Louisville led early, what did Duke do? They adjusted. They tightened the screws and outscored Louisville 40-26 in the paint. That interior dominance is sustainable. Relying on hitting 15 threes is, well, it's essentially gambling.
I'm glad you brought up the first matchup because that is the perfect segue into our first core point of debate, the roster composition. Specifically, the return of Mikel Braun Jr. This is the one variable that I think changes the entire equation from January 6th.
And I suspect you're going to tell me he solves all of their problems.
Not all of them, no, but he solves the biggest one, creation. Context here is everything. In that 84-73 loss, Louisville was playing without their primary floor general. Mikel Braun Jr. is averaging almost 17 points per game, but more importantly, he facilitates the offense. Louisville leads the ACC in assists with nearly 18 a game, and Braun is the engine of that ball movement. When he came back on January 24th against Virginia Tech, the offense just looked fluid again.
Fluidity is great against Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech isn't guarding him like Duke will be guarding them tonight.
Sure, but here's the specific mechanical difference. Without Braun, the pressure in that first game fell entirely on Ryan Conwell and the secondary ball handlers. Duke could load up on Conwell, shade coverage his way, and force other guys to make plays they aren't comfortable making. Having Braun back relieves that pressure. It means Conwell can play off the ball where he's lethal as a catch-and-shoot guy. And it means Duke's defense now has to account for a creator who can get his own shot or find the open man. I mean, he was named the USA Basketball Men's Athlete of the Year for a reason. He has a special talent. His presence completely alters the geometry of the court. Duke hasn't had to guard this version of Louisville yet.
I acknowledge Braun is talented. His 29 points against Kentucky back in November proved what he can do against high-level competition. But I'm sorry. I just don't buy that his presence alone flips a double-digit loss into a win at Cameron. You have to look at the individual matchups. Who was guarding him? Duke's scoring defense is second in the ACC, allowing only 65 points per game. Their backcourt of Caleb Foster and Isaiah Evans is long, it's athletic, and it's disciplined.
But again, that backcourt hasn't had to guard Braun and Conwell at the same time in this system. That splits the defensive attention.
They've seen the system, though. They know the spacing principles. And let's look at Isaiah Evans specifically. In that first meeting, he had 4 steals. He was jumping passing lanes, disrupting the flow, turning defense into offense. Duke's perimeter D really bothered Louisville in that second half. My concern for Louisville isn't even necessarily their offense, it's the other end. Even with Braun back, Louisville's defense is giving up nearly 70 points per game. Duke's scoring margin is plus 20.5. If Louisville tries to get into a track meet with Duke, which they will because that's their style, Duke is more than happy to run. They just scored 90 against Wake Forest and 80 against Stanford. Duke just has too many weapons. If Braun plays well, that's great, but does he stop Caleb Foster? Does he stop Isaiah Evans, who is averaging nearly 19 points in ACC play? I don't think so.
Defensive struggle. They have to win a shootout. We both know that. But this leads us directly to the second point of contention, the clash of styles. We are looking at the three-point line versus the paint, math ball versus bully ball, if you will.
This is where the game will be decided. I completely agree. It is a fundamental philosophical difference in how these two teams generate their points.
And Louisville has 2 shooters who are historically good. We talked about Ryan Conwell averaging 19.5, but look at Isaac McNeely. This is a stat that absolutely blew my mind when I dug into it. As of yesterday, there are 25 players in Division I shooting 41% or better from 3 for their careers. In that group, no one has made or attempted more three-pointers than McNeely. He's made 287 of them in his career. That is sustained excellence over a long period. This isn't a hot streak. This is who he is.
He's a sniper, no doubt about it. But snipers can be run off the line.
But he's more than a sniper. He's a gravity well. It's a concept we see in the NBA all the time. When you have Conwell and McNeely on the floor, the defense has to extend way past the three-point line. That opens up driving lanes. And we saw against NJIT what happens when Louisville gets hot. They hit 23-pointers. Now, Duke is not NJIT, obviously, but if Louisville generates that volume, 33, 34 attempts, and they hit 40%, that's 40 to 42 points just from the perimeter. Duke's interior dominance is consistent, yes, but 3 points are worth 50% more than 2. In a single game sample, math ball is the great equalizer. It compresses the talent gap. It essentially says,
We don't need to be better than you for 40 minutes. We just need to be hotter than you for 20.
See, I come at it from a different direction entirely. You're banking on volatility. I am banking on physics. Duke ranks 11th nationally in rebounding margin at plus 9.6. In the first matchup, they out-rebounded Louisville. When Louisville misses those long threes, and they will miss some, usually about 60% of them even on a good night, long rebounds happen. But Duke secures the ball because they are bigger and stronger. More importantly, let's talk about the paint.
Duke won the paint battle 40-26 last time. I concede that. It was a problem.
And they will likely win it again, perhaps by an even wider margin. You've got Cameron Boozer, who's averaging almost 10 rebounds to go with his scoring. You have Patrick Gongba, too, inside. Duke just dropped 48 points in the paint against Wake Forest. That is not volatile. That is reliable. If McNeely goes cold, or if Duke runs him off the line, what is Louisville's plan B? Duke's plan A, B, and C is to pound the ball inside to the best player in the country, or let Malik Brown facilitate from the high post. And look, Duke holds opponents to 39.3% shooting from the field, third best in the ACC. Their length bothers shooters. If Louisville is taking contested threes because they can't get inside, that percentage is going to drop, and Duke will just clean up the glass. You can't shoot your way out of a game if you never get the rebound.
That is a strong argument about the rebounding. Louisville has to keep that margin respectable to have a chance. They can't give up second chance points. But I do want to push back on the idea that Duke's defense makes them immune to the three. In Duke's one loss this year to Texas Tech, they gave up 82 points. It's not impossible to score on them. And Louisville has the specific personnel, Conwell, McNeely, and now Brown, to stress that defense in ways Wake Forest or Stanford couldn't. Those teams don't have three legitimate perimeter creators. When you have three guys who can shoot, you can't help off anyone. That isolates Duke's bigs in space. And that's where an upset can brew.
It's possible, sure, but likelihood is what we are analyzing here. And that leads me to the coaching and the trends. This feels like a Duke team that is peaking at the exact right time, whereas Louisville is still, figuring out its ceiling.
Jon Scheyer has certainly built a machine, I won't deny that.
A machine is the right word for it. Jon Scheyer has a career record of 106-23. Against Louisville specifically, he is 6-0. They have won 29 of their last 30 conference games. They just dismantled a good Wake Forest team by 21 points. They are comfortable, they are confident, and they are playing at home where they haven't lost in 2 seasons. Why would we bet against that level of stability? They just don't have bad nights at home.
I'm not convinced by that line of reasoning, solely because past trends don't always predict future disruptions, especially in conference play. Pat Kelsey has done a phenomenal job turning this roster over. Remember, this is a team ranked number 23 with a net ranking of 17. For those listening, the net is the primary sorting tool for the NCAA tournament, and 17 suggests this is a high-level tournament team. This isn't a rebuild, it's a reload. And here's a trend for you that suggests resilience. Louisville is 41-0 under Kelsey when leading with 5 minutes to play.
That is an impressive stat, I will not deny it. But they have to get to that lead first. And holding a lead at Cameron is different than holding a lead anywhere else.
Exactly. But it shows that if they can keep it close, if they can turn this into a chaotic game, they are closers. They force turnovers, about 12.5 per game, and they thrive in that chaos. In the Kentucky game, they forced 14 turnovers and turned them into 19 points. Duke is disciplined, yes, but if Louisville can speed them up, make Caleb Foster uncomfortable, and hit those transition threes, the crowd at Cameron gets tight. Kelsey's teams play with this frantic energy that is very hard to replicate in practice. You can scout it, but feeling it on the court is different. It's disorienting.
That energy is great, but Sheyer's teams are incredibly poised. They rank high in assist-to-turnover ratio. They do not beat themselves. You mentioned the Texas Tech loss. That was a 1-point game on a neutral floor. At home, Duke is a different animal. And looking at the roster, Duke has the depth. Dame Sarr, Kamene off the bench. They have bodies throw at Louisville's guards to keep the defensive intensity high for a full 40 minutes. I just think the combination of an elite coach who knows exactly how to exploit Louisville's defensive weaknesses, specifically their interior defense, is too much to overcome. Scheyer will target the paint relentlessly.
I think you're underestimating the newness factor of this Louisville squad with Brown fully integrated. We saw it against Virginia Tech. The ball just moved differently. Duke prepared for a specific version of Louisville on January 6th. Tonight, they face a version that has its primary creator back, and that requires on-the-fly adjustments.
Adjustments are what Shire does best. And let's not forget, Duke has Isaiah Evans, who is playing his best basketball of the season. He's averaging almost 19 points in conference play. He's 6'6". Who on Louisville's perimeter guards him effectively? Brown is 6'5", Conwell is 6'4", McNeely is 6'4". Evans can shoot over the top of all of them. He is a matchup nightmare for a guard-heavy team.
That is a mismatch, I agree. But Louisville counters with speed and spacing. It's a classic offense versus defense battle, but modernized. Can Duke's efficiency strangle Louisville's volume, or does the volume break the efficiency?
Precisely. And to bring this toward a conclusion, my position remains firm. Duke is the more complete team. They have the best player on the floor in Cameron Boozer, who is doing things we haven't seen since R.J. Barrett. I mean, consecutive 30-point games for a freshman is absurd. He is playing at an all-American level right now. They have the elite defense, and they have the home court. The hurdle for Louisville is just too high. They would need a statistical outlier performance from three-point range to win this game.
And my position is that the outlier performance is exactly what this Louisville team is built to produce. They are designed for the outlier. They are a different animal than the one Duke saw on January 6th because of Michael Brown Jr. If they hit their average of 12 threes or push that to 14 or 15, and if they can push the pace to prevent Duke from setting up that half-court defense, they have the firepower to break the streak. The path is there. It requires precision and, yeah, a little bit of luck. But the numbers suggest Louisville can score enough to make this a one-possession game late. And if they do, that 41-0 record when leading late looms large.
It'll ultimately come down to that perimeter matchup. Can Conwell and Brown handle the length of Foster and Evans? If Duke runs them off the line and forces them into the teeth of Ngongba and Boozer, it's over.
But if those guards can create space and kick out to McNeely, or if Conwell gets hot like he did against NJIT, we are in for a thriller. I encourage everyone to watch that dynamic. Duke's paint touches versus Louisville's three-point attempts. That ratio will tell the story of the game.
Absolutely. It's efficiency versus variance, stability versus chaos. It should be a fantastic game to watch.
Indeed. Thanks for listening to the debate.
Ball game, I'm the reason that they all came. I'm headed to the Hall of Fame. Best believe that I'll never have an off game. Got a soft touch on the big stage. End of the game, so clutch. Lockdown D so deadly. Hit half-court shots as the warm-up. It ain't hard. I'm the one that you can't guard. Got a feeling that I can't lose, I can't stop. Money with the bank shot. Number one draft pick. Mind blowing, ain't no slowing when I'm going to the basket. I'm balling out. MVP, they calling out. Like Kobe, you know me, you're better than show me. I'm standing on the stage with the trophy. I've been around, I'm an OG. Retiring my jersey.